How do you study? And the children pointed towards a little lamp, a brass lamp that big. And they said, we study using that lamp. So, this problem of energy security reflects itself every day with all of us. It reflects itself among the poor, in the house of Sasikala. It reflects itself with industry. It reflects itself among all Indians. Energy affects India's growth, and energy is responsible for allowing us to grow at 9%. Energy is responsible for allowing us to grow at 9%, and that growth is responsible for allowing us to help our poor, to create programs like those the BJP has done, the PMGSY, and like those the Congress has done, Narega, guaranteed education. The point I am making here is if that we do not secure our energy supply into the future, growth will stop and we will not be able to fight poverty, which is something that every single member of this house wants to do. So, I have stated what the problem is. And I will go back again to Vidarbha to state what the solution could possibly be. I would go to the house of another young lady called Kalavati, who has 9 children. I would go to the house of Kalavati. I'm glad you find that funny, but Kalavati is I'm glad you find it funny, but Kalavati is a person whose husband committed suicide. So I would urge you to respect her. I will take you to the house of Kalavati, which I also visited 3 days ago. And Kalavati is a woman with 9 children whose husband committed suicide 3 years ago. Kalavati's husband committed suicide because he was dependent on only one crop, the cotton crop. And when I asked Kalavati, why did your husband commit suicide? Her answer was that she was dependent only on one source of income. I asked Kalavati,
strike out, not to be recorded. अच्छा ठीक है, अरे क्या हो रहा है बाबा, हम तो समझते हैं. Mr. Muthemar.
Sir, and Kalavati, I asked Kalavati, what did you do? And Kalavati responded by telling me that I diversified.
I think that Parliament of India is reaching its lowest position.
So when I asked Kalavati,
so that the country can give their verdict about these members who are today here. Yes, please carry on.
When I asked the widowed lady how she resolved her problem, she said that instead of sowing one crop, she now sows 3. She told me how she bought 2 buffaloes and now has milk as a source of income. And she also told me, most importantly, that she dug a little pond which she filled with water and uses as an insurance policy when it doesn't rain. So, the answers to our energy problem. So, many years ago, this country embarked on a path which many people did not believe in. We developed an industry called the IT industry and the telecoms industry. Very few people believed at the time that India would ever play a major role in this industry. Very few people believed that the computer would have anything to do with empowering the poor and with changing the way this country worked. Yet today, all of us together see the impact of the computer. We see the revolutionary impact that IT and communications has had on this country. And it is important that we do not forget this. It is important that we do not forget this because I believe we are at a crossroads, very similar to the crossroads we were at when the decision on IT was to be made. The decision here, sir, is not about 3% energy or 7% energy. It is not about India's usage of nuclear energy. If we look at the big picture here, sir, it is about whether India can become a global power in a type of energy that is going to be very important in the future. We all know, sir, the problems caused by hydrocarbons. We know about pollution. And earlier, one of the members asked me to point out what is the connection between energy and poverty. And we know the link between us depending on hydrocarbons and prices in India today. So when we think about energy and we think about nuclear energy, we must think about the poorest in the country. Contrary to what most people believe, when we thought about IT in this country, we were thinking about the poor in this country. It is something that is hard to grasp because it is counterintuitive. But one must not underestimate the connections between industry, between energy, and between the poor. So, I've taken a lot of time, so I do not want to go on forever, but I just want to make one submission, one last submission, that I am very happy this House is now listening to. So, the difference between a powerful country and a country that is not powerful and does not have a similar impact on the world stage is that the powerful country thinks about how it will impact the world. The country that is not so powerful thinks about how the world will impact it. So, it does not matter which government runs this country. Many governments will run this country in the future. But it does matter how we think about our position in the world. What is important is that we stop worrying about how the world will impact us. We stop being scared about how the world will impact us. And we step out and worry about how we will impact the world. So, as I said earlier, I speak today not as a congressperson or a congressman, but as an Indian. And I would like to say two other things before I conclude. The first, sir, is we are all building this country together. We might have different views about how this country should be built. We might have different opinions on what we should do. But essentially, we sit in this room together and we have to solve our problems together. This is what differentiates us, and this is what gives us our true power. That any voice can be heard in this room, that any voice can disrupt any other voice in this room. It is uncomfortable. No, I'm being serious. It's uncomfortable for me, but I am very proud of it. That every voice can be heard in this country. And I would like to conclude by saying two things. The first thing is that we must never, ever let fear be our guide. We must never take decisions based on the fear of the unknown or what is going to happen if we act. And we must only act with one rule, and that is courage. And the second thing I would like to say is that we are a country of 1 billion people. 70% of us are young. I'm old for this country. I'm much above the average age. And it is important to realize that this country is brimming with confidence and brimming with self-belief. And another point we must never forget when we take decisions as leaders in this country is that we have to believe in our people. And we have to have confidence in what they are capable of doing. And we have to have confidence in what they are doing. I think, sir, these are guides not only for Congress leaders, these are guides for every single Indian, that when you do act, whoever you are, whatever opinion you have, act with courage and act with confidence. And with that, together, we can change this country and impact the world. To conclude, sir, I would like to To conclude, I would like to support our Prime Minister and like to say that he has shown tremendous courage and confidence in the Indian people. And I would also like to say, and I say this as a youngster from this party and as a youngster from that party and all those other parties, that it does not matter what happens here today. What matters is that we start working together and that we together try to solve the problems of this country. I would like to support the motion of the Prime Minister. Thank you very much. This morning I spoke about two poor families. Yes, exactly. I spoke about two poor families, and I spoke about, okay. I spoke about two poor families.
आप नाम से बत्ती हटा दीजिए.
हाँ, नाम से I spoke to two poor families. One of them was called Mrs. Kala. And Mrs. Kala said that she had diversified her income sources and she has used that to stabilize her family and bring up her 9 children. So, at the very least, nuclear energy is going to act like Kala's pond, like Kala's pond, and it is going to act as an insurance policy for this country in times of need. At its maximum, nuclear energy is going to act like Kala's main crop. So the problem is that the way our nuclear industry is positioned today, it is going to do neither. It is neither going to act as an insurance policy, and nor is it going to act or have the potential to act as a fundamental source of energy. And the reason it is not going to do so is because the hands of our scientists, the hands of our establishment are tied. And they are tied because they do not have fuel on one hand, and on the other hand, they do not have investment and technology. So, I'm very proud to say that our Prime Minister, Shri Manmohan Singh Ji, has recognized both the problem and a potential solution. But it would be unfair of me not to accept that Shri Vajpayee also saw the problem and also in his time worked on the solution. ताली तो मार दीजिए, इसके बारे में तो मार दीजिए. Now, I have stated, and all of us know, that there is a problem with regard to our energy security in this country. and that we need to think about it in the long term, and it is a problem that all of us need to solve working together. As I said, senior leaders have also established that the way forward is diversification and reliance on more than one source of energy, a balanced portfolio that includes nuclear, hydrocarbon, solar and wind, among others. But sir, it is not enough to identify a problem and a potential solution. The magic of what Sri Manmohan Singh ji is doing is that within the problem, he has identified an opportunity that is significantly larger than the problem itself. The opportunity our Prime Minister has identified is based on a simple fact. It is based on the fact that over the next 30-40 years, two countries are going to use the largest bulk of new energy that comes online. These countries, China and India, have the ability to define the way the world's energy moves. So, what I am suggesting is that instead of looking at our energy problem as a problem, we start to look at our energy usage as an opportunity. Like a big buyer who goes to any market, we have the ability to shape the global energy industry. And energy is like no other industry in the world. Energy, as I said earlier, is used everywhere, in everything, and in every aspect of economic and social life. Energy has destroyed nations, and it has built nations. Our old opponents, the British, grew to their prominence because they controlled coal. The United States today controls hydrocarbons, has a large emphasis on hydrocarbons, and we all know how powerful they are. So what I'm suggesting is that we start to think like a big country, like a powerful country. And instead of worrying about how the world will impact us, we start worrying about how we will impact the world.